Alright. Dan Swede Hydrochem Systems training day for Eco 190. We'll give you the overview on all the pressure washer stuff. I'll give you a copy of this, obviously. Basically, you got a 31 horse Vanguard engine. It is a twin cylinder air-cooled engine. You want to keep this free from any plastic or debris covering that. It's kind of like your radiator for your car, your truck. The twin cylinder, it is a gas engine. You have the 2 spark plugs. Normally once or twice a year you might have to change them. They're pretty good maintenance on those, unless you follow the plug by over choking it. It should last a while. It only has 2 quarts of oil. I do recommend like a Mobil 1 or equivalent synthetic oil for high temp. An air-cooled engine like this can run at 350 degrees Fahrenheit by average. That's the operating temp. Because it's air-cooled, not water-cooled, so it doesn't have a boiling point to worry about going into steam. Having 2 quarts of oil only, and an oil filter. There's an oil filter here that you would spin off. I kind of recommend on that too to do maybe 50-hour oil change on the schedule. You could do 50 hours oil only, and every 100 hours oil and filter, because the filter will hold up. But if you do that, I've had guys that get 4,500 hours out of these engines, which are like a 500,000 highway or 300,000 miles worth of driving. So having a little higher maintenance. What's nice too, if you do your 50-hour oil change on Wednesday and you won't want to shut down till Saturday, you still have enough hours of run time to go before you need it. They recommend maybe 100 hours oil changes, but it really depends if you're going to be running this 6 to 8 hours a day versus an hour or 2 a day. It's different when you're really cooking it all day long, non-stop running.
Is there an hour meter on it?
Yes, there's an hour meter right here. So over maintenance for 2 quarts of oil, it's not like you're changing 8 quarts of oil or more on a truck. So hamper that as you can. You do have an inline fuel filter, pretty standard. The pump itself is a heavy-duty triplex plunger pump. It has a very large oil capacity. I believe it's 44 ounces of oil on this. Your oil level is easy to check. It's got a little gauge right here. You want it even with the red dot on level ground. You do have a dipstick for a lot of times when you don't have access to the sight glass on there. They say anywhere between 300 and 500 hours on the pump oil change. Depends on humidity levels and different things. You can choose to do it more often if you like. What's nice is we have drain hose attached to the pump and the engine itself here with a little valve. So you just open a valve. You don't move the drain plug. You're not spilling oil all over the underneath of the machine and all. So you just put a little pink pan here, a little Tupperware, whatever oil pan with a little low profile on that. If you want, you can always extend that hose out a little bit too. They kind of keep it trim, but I mean, if it's easier to lengthen and have the pan down here, no big deal. So those drain kits are on there. That's a nice feature. It's a belt-driven pump with 3 belts on there. We have triple belts. What's kind of unique about the machine, if you like anybody work on equipment and engine at all, not too much. Well, one of the things is that the pump rail here is saddled over the frame, kind of like a horse saddle on a horse. What's nice about this feature, on pumps I've dealt with them for 32 years. You have slotted bolts, they kind of move, the whole pump can move and shimmy. You got to get in there with straight edges and measure, put a straight edge between the one pulley to the other pulley and everything else. Here, there's no way for it not to be perfectly aligned because it's on a champ track. And to change or tighten the pump oil, like if you had to bring it in here, it's not a big deal. We just loosen these 2 nuts over here. We have a tensioner bolt that goes in and out. Boom, boom. It's a lot quicker. You say it could be a couple hours of labor just to do a belt change on it. So, and actually your belts are going to last longer because you got the true track on there where it's extremely aligned. You normally lose belts when they're cockeyed in there and all that often. So when it comes to better engineering, like real little tiny little things and mean a ton. Also it used to be where, this is also why we use like a wood deck trailer. A lot of times if you're metal on metal, vibrations are pretty rough. You got a twin cylinder engine and a 3-cylinder pump. You get a lot of vibration. We would break pump rails all the time on that. Other frames would even crack and break. So typically there's a reason why we do deck material like that. It's pretty much a pressure treated equivalent to lifetime warranty deck, I believe. So it isn't an issue. It just really becomes a kind of a shock absorber to absorb the vibration, and often when you hit a bunch of speed bumps or other kind of, well, or any highway in Michigan almost, feels like you're driving over speed bumps. Except for M6 now, it's not really bad. But a few features. You do have a pressure gauge here. Monitor your pressure. This is head pressure. When you shut the gun off, because it's on this side of the pressure regulator, it'll go to 0. You have another gauge on the back manifold that'll tell you you're open and bypass pressure. So you got a gauge going from the pump side and on the high pressure and bypass side. So if you need a little talk you through some stuff, it's not a big deal. Now, if you were to run the pump empty and you started the engine or something, say you're winterizing it and your winterizer went through, now the tank is empty, you forgot to switch it back to the tank, supply tank, and you started the engine for a while and you're like, dude, I got no pressure or water coming out, check the valve. Now if you check the valve, you've been sucking air. This is a big pump that needs a flooded inlet. So what you can do is if we start and it doesn't prime right away, you can just crack this line over here and here. Just a little like quarter tone, just enough to get it. Start the engine and run it until you see water come out. It comes pretty quickly because you're just bleeding the air out of the pump. So that has happened a few times because of the winterizing tank, and we forgot.
That's the only reason that would happen is because you didn't.
Or you could have that tank empty too. Okay. If you ran completely out of water and you're running, and it was for long enough where you're just trying to figure out what's going on, most of the time it's pops and primes, no big deal. If you really got an issue, it will take you, 2 minutes and don't let it go too long. It's just a matter of you're bleeding out and let it drip out. And I've had everybody call me back literally like 2 minutes, like, oh my God, it worked, thank you, Dan. So I just wanted to show you that where it was, just so you have an idea. I'll bring it back up. All it is follow the gauge down right to there, and that's it. And you got a 12-volt battery. It's all marine, 1,000 cold cranking out, deep cycle style battery on here. It does have its own charging system, so it will charge and maintain the battery on the unit. The battery is running the starter out, to start the engine, some of the electrical. It also runs the transfer pump on the first phase filtration system. So, like I said, most of the stuff will auto shut down when everything's off on the 12-volt side of it. You might have the light on, but that's about it on the LED light. But we don't use the battery to run the burner, the heating system. The cheaper units have a 12-volt burner. They're a nightmare. I mean, I've been doing this for 30-some years. With this burner assembly here on your unit, I mean, I'd probably go through 50 12-volt burners before I would have to replace one of these. So the difference in quality is going to be where you want to be on that. Now the burner is running off the generator. This is the 2,900 watt brushless generator. It's a real Italian-made generator. It's real high-end. You ever go to buy a generator at a home center or commercial? I mean, there's $2,000, 5,000 watt generators, and there's $300 ones, or 400. It's really between brush and generator. This is a high-end generator. There's no brushes. I don't recall, and we can talk to Shirley, I don't think we've ever replaced this one yet. It's just a real industrial grade high-end one. You want to keep like chemicals or pressure off the generator if you need to. It's pretty weatherproof, but just in general, know that that is your electrical generator. This actually goes to the control box here. The control box here, you have your thermostat and your on-off switch for the burner here. So with the machine running, the burner will be available for you to kick on. It does have a thermostat. Now if I turned it on, if we just fired it up right now and didn't have something under pressure running, the burner will not turn on. So don't expect the burner to ignite if it's just running. It has to, there's pressure, there's sensors on here that you need pressure. The pressure switch will keep the heat off if there's no pressure.
You actually have to have the wand trigger pulled, you mean?
You have to have the wand or a cleaning head open. If not, if this was allowed to superheat, if this thing started right now and the burner kicked on and everything was plugged, we would want to get the heck out of here very, very quickly. I've got a steam explosion on my YouTube channel with a little electric unit, like the one that was in the shop there when we came in. They allowed it to superheat. They took all the redundant safety devices out, just turned the burner on. The machine blew up. You'd think it was two sticks of dynamite inside the heating coil. The whole thing blew apart. All the housing, this whole burner housing blew out. Everything came apart on here. I mean, it looked like, honestly, like maybe, I don't know, I haven't seen 1 or 2 sticks of dynamite blow up in a machine, but I'm assuming it had to be something close to that. I'll show you that. And so basically, it got up to 14,000 pounds of pressure before it blew up. That was just steam pressure. Now when steam expands X amount of times on top of that, once it hits the atmosphere and all, it was bad. I mean, it was insane. And the whole machine actually did it, flipped over on top of it. It's cool, you gotta see it. It'll keep you from tinkering with stuff you shouldn't be messing with, you know what I mean? Now, the reason I brought this up, I'll show you what they are on the side here, while the machine's off. This is one of the best features we designed in it. There is the pump on this is called a positive displacement pump. If an engine rotates at one time, it's going to have X amount of water coming through it. If it's spinning, it's pumping. If I plug the pump off or shut and there's nowhere else for the water to go, the pump is going to blow up. I know I'm talking about a lot of weird stuff. At least we're not on an airplane. The whole thing with the pressure buildup. So what we have here is a pressure regulator. So if we shut the gun off on the trigger gun or shows one of the cleaning heads up, the pressure is going to override the spring and open and dump the water into a bypass port, which is on the back here. So when the gun's off, that opens up. It's a cool bypass, so no hot water gets through there. It's before the heater. So if I shut the gun off, the water runs through the bypass, so then back to the supply tank. So it is always circulating the water. If we didn't have that and I just returned the water back to the inlet of the pump and had that little short whip going back to the pump itself, even a cold water pressure washer can boil water in the pump itself. It's called heat of compression. Anything under pressure gets hot. If you ever touch any hydraulic pump motor or anything anything under pressure will create heat. Like if I took a cold water pressure washer out of the showroom, I connected to this garden hose, I started it and I left the gun on the ground and we just sat here for 4 minutes to watch it. You'll see our pump just come apart after 4 or 5 minutes. There's thermal relief valve and other protectors on there, but if we didn't have it, the water would boil. The way we prevent that and allow you to go from house to house to house while you're cleaning is with this the cool bypass built in. So right now, if we started it, I could be talking for 10 minutes and that water's just circulating cold water back to the tank. You're not hurting anything. You don't want to just do it all the time, but if you got like a community environment center where you're hitting...
You don't have to turn the...
Can you walk over that way towards the stuff?
You don't have to turn the burner off, is what you're saying all the time.
No. Well, the burner is different. It's on a separate circuit altogether. The burner, after it gets through the pressure regulator and up the hose into the coil, that's when all the other switches take over. With here we have our pressure switch. So since there's no pressure, there's no heat. This is a flow switch. It's kind of cool. If there's no flow, there's no heat.
Okay. So we're talking about two different things with the burner and the pressure.
Nah.
So do we have to turn the burner off between?
No. The burner only kicks on when the pressure's on. Okay, so There's a lot of redundant safety devices. This is where it gets a little wired that you don't have to memorize since we're local. But so when the machine's running, you get your burner on. We have different controls that are going to kick on the burner system. The burner on this is you have to, in order to have flame, you need spark, fuel, and air. So you have a motor that's got a blower that's blowing air. You've got diesel fuel being injected into as a nozzle into the burner housing, and you got an ignition system that creates the spark. So spark, full, and air, and it's instantly. So when I pull the trigger on the gun, you'll hear whoosh, and you'll see this heat coming off the top here. The minute I shut the gun off, or second, this will turn off. If I kick it back on, it'll kick on and off as needed. It's on-demand type burner system. The other thing that happens too, if I'm running the gun through a surface cleaner or the cleaning head, once it gets hot and it's hot, it automatically shuts itself off with the thermostat control and maintains your heat. So there's a certain range it'll keep it, just like your home furnace in the winter. It doesn't run 24/7. It kicks on, turns off, kicks on. With the high efficiency burner, you'll be amazed by the fuel efficiency of the burner system. It could save you $1,000 in diesel fuel alone with what we built into the unit. And I don't want to get into too much of the detail, but bottom line, there's nothing in their industry as fuel efficient as this. So you got your pressure switch, flow switch, just for us to worry about. What's nice is this fitting here can come loose real easy for us, so we can pull that whole assembly right off to work on it. Other ones are, you could end up spending hours and hours more with other systems. So everything was really well engineered. Basically now, with the pressure coming through into the coil, the ignited kicks on and off on demand by the pressure. Comes out the heat, will come out these hoses here, the hot water. One goes to the bottom, the top reel here, it's always on. The other one goes to the back manifold assembly where all the ball valves are and the hose reel and the bypass system. So basically it's all there. This one fitting right here looks like a big old hose barb. That's what they call a this is a steam burst relief valve. Say something went wrong, a little electrical fire, short, something happened and it wasn't doing its job kicking on and off. If this thing started to superheat, this pops off at 8,000 PSI. Once again, it doesn't even have to relate to the pump pressure at all. Like the one that blew up at 14,000 pounds of pressure with a 1,000 pound little electric 150 volt pressure washer. Still got up to. So this ever pops off on you, you pop your spare one in. Make sure your water's full, because if you got air in the system or ran out of water, there could be some things where guys are doing sidewalk, they're trying to stretch it while they're doing the 48 inch or whatever, or doing bend, and they kind of are driving and all of a sudden they run out of water and a big scoop of air gets in there, but then the tank kind of fills back in from moving. And sometimes you can get a bubble of air through the system that could cause a steam burst. If that pops off, what I suggest you do is replace it with a new one. It's best to get a socket that fits on here. You don't want to try to get a wrench here. So put a new one in, call us right away for it. Put the new one in, start it back up, make sure your tank is full, go back to work. If you're good to go and it doesn't happen again, you're fine. So it's just probably a little freak. If it pops again, shut it down. Don't even think of starting it again. And don't think of plugging it off. Bring it here, let us test it, run it, make sure it's okay. But this is a safety burst. It's not a reset on this. It is burst. So if this pops off, let us know right away. Take a picture, video, let me see what's leaking or whatever. And if you need to bring it in, we got a bundle, enough in stock. But it does have that little bit of weirdness sometimes when you get some air in there. Most of the time, but if it's doing its job, it just saves you $10,000, in a blown up machine. This, so you know for sure, this is your unleaded gasoline, and your white tank is your diesel fuel. All right, on the other side, they're both 18 gallon. They're all meet California carbon emissions, which covers everywhere. We have carbon filters on here for the environmental carbon emission. We actually have 2 cartridges to be compliant because of the tank size. One of these can handle 10 gallons, so 2, you have to have 2 systems on there. So we're compliant for you're good to go. You're not have to worry about that. Now when you go to start the machine, your winterizing tank is here. Right now, it's coming through here to here from the supply tank. You can tell the supply tank has this filter here on it. When you follow the hose here, right now, it's kind of like an L-shaped valve in there, and it's feeding the tank. So right now, you should be good to go to get free flow from the tank. Now if you start the engine and you want to double check, make sure, just look here because it go down quick. You know what I mean? And you don't want to lose your windshield washer solution out of that, the 30 below zero, the RV, antifreeze. And like I said, if we were done for the day and we had to winterize it before you put it back away, we would end up, throwing the switch, moving the valve over, in order to suck from the tank, and we'll go through a winterizing procedure with you when we're done. We'll have it winterized before you leave. Any questions?
You guys understand all that?
Not yet.
I got a little lost on that.
Just the antifreeze part you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's just opening and closing. You're using it or not using it.
Well, you got to do it. If you don't put windshield washer fluid or the antifreeze in the pump and get it through the heating coil and out the hoses and into the cleaning head, you'll blow something up. It'll freeze. If there was water in the heating coil and it froze, got below 30 degrees, and it froze, ice expands and it'll split the heating coil. So if you froze the coil, it's real obvious for warranty and everybody know it got frozen. It just has a little pinprick. It actually will split a Schedule 80 high pressure pipe. And they said they simulated that to try to reproduce what ice does. It took 100,000 pounds of pressure to split a heating coil lengthwise. That's how powerful ice is. Now, if you have ice in the pump, ice in the unloader, ice in the coil, or in the head, you're going to have damage.
So all you're running in there is washer fluid?
The 30 below there washer fluid. It's a lot cheaper than ethanol glycol. It's easier to get rid of, you know what I mean? And so basically, all we're doing is, this is going to your pump right here, inlet of the pump. So it's either going to suck from this tank or that tank. And this controls which tank it's coming out of. So basically, it's just, you don't have to worry about the fitting. Like I said, when we run this to winterize it, it's basically, you're going to see this suck down. It only takes about a minute to a minute and a half to winterize it. You got to be really quick on it because you don't want to lose your water back to the tank. Because remember I told you about this little bypass that goes back to the tank when the gun's off. If say you started the machine, oh honey, hold on, let me call you back, and all the valves are off, you're going to have this is going to be in your supply tank, like in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? So when you prepare to winterize, like turn the ring off, do what you got to do, or just get ready to shut the machine off so you can do it quickly and conserve your solution. Now you can also take, when this is all winterized, we could actually take the hose and put it back to the tank here, fire it up and kind of run the winterizer through, and you can get some of it back. But never let it go too long. When you see blue come back, you get the little lighter shade of blue, stop. You don't want to dilute your solution, but you could pull some of it back in. The other option too, if you got a bay, is if you get a, it's easier to show you here, and we'll go over this enough. You'll see it when we winterize it. This high pressure reel, if you leave water in a tube, you can split the hose and stuff, or the gun. So you want to winterize it or you want to blow it out. So what you can do here is, make sure there's no pressure. you could actually take the hose off. This goes right to the hose reel. Pop a quick disconnect with an air chuck on it and blow air through here with the gun being open. So you can blow out the line. It'll save you some expense of having to winterize the hose. So you can actually do this. We actually added another quick disconnect on the other reel. So you can blow out that. That's 200 foot of hose. That's going to hold a lot of liquid. So you can blow that out and take care of that too. So basically you have after there. Now if you're on the job or on the road and you can't get to air, then you flush out. You just put the winterizer through the gun and through all that. What we normally would do is take the gun back to the recycling system, the black tank, and open the gun without a nozzle and just spray the solution in until you see the blue come out. Now we know it's good. You're actually now starting to put some winterizer in that recycling tank, and you do the other gun and the other hose into that. That way both lines are covered and you're starting to put some windshield and you're not just spraying it on the ground and losing your solution. You do want to hit the bypass quickly, just to get through that little bypass hole, that little valve. If you just kind of have the gun on off, one of the guns on off just for a split second, it'll push the solution into that little line. You know, so you don't have to go long on there, you just keep it quick. Let me see here. Alright, we want to go through this running, operating, just start it, use it, go through the whole thing. Break it up a little bit, it's getting a little monotonous here, and it'll get a little more entertaining. This part is where we get the, a lot of people get glossy-eyed and they're like, okay, let's